Welcome to Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, the podcast that takes you inside the minds of the industry's top professionals, revealing their top secrets to success. I'm your host, Danielle Damianov. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, get ready to learn the latest trends, strategies, and secrets that will help you succeed. Join us as we go beyond the basics and explore what it takes to make it in the world of real estate. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride. This is Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. Hey everybody, it's Danielle Damianov with Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, and I am here today with Bishoy Habib. He is founder and managing partner at Legacy Legal. He is also a real estate broker, so he knows everything there is to know on the legal side of real estate as well as doing deals. So I'm really excited to have you on today. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate you and appreciate the warm intro.
Yeah. So tell us, what got you started in real estate and being a real estate attorney?
I always tell people I feel like I was born into it. My dad was the immigrant story, moved here as a pharmacist, actually, and found out pretty quickly that real estate was the path to financial freedom in this country. So he taught himself real estate literally with cassettes back in the day. And, that was in the 80s. He was buying up foreclosures on the steps of the courthouse. And so I grew up in that environment. I grew up, he would drive around his properties and check with his tenants and things like that. I negotiated my first commercial lease at the age of 15 in one of his properties. And so I remember I always joke, I don't know how much of the work I actually did, but I feel like I negotiated all. It was the state of Florida was the tenant. So um, I just kind of felt natural. And then once I got out of college, it was 2009 and I wasn't sure. I wanted to just do real estate, but I figured let me go get my law degree. Couldn't hurt. Market was obviously not doing well at that time. So I got out of law school and market was still soft. And I said, okay, let me go practice law. And so I went to New York for 2 years, practiced up there, came back down here and continued practicing. Kind of didn't plan on staying in it long term, was just going to go on the investment side. And then, one day I looked up and I'd been practicing for like 8 or 9 years. And I was like, all right, I'm getting pretty good at this. I might as well just stick with this and I can always do things on the side. So, the real estate side of it felt inevitable. The legal side of it, kind of didn't know I'd end up here, but here we are.
Uh, So tell me, I'm curious, what cassettes was your dad listening to? Do you remember who the guru was back then?
Well, the cassettes he listened to were before I was born. This was like in the 70s and 80s, he will remember the names of the gurus. I don't know the names of the gurus, but it's always funny. He always tells me, and like some of them I'd heard of before. But what I will tell you is, he used to take me to these real estate events, like the weekly or the monthly RIA events or whatever. Every local area has them. And now full circle moment. I used to kind of hate them as a kid because I didn't understand them. And then I kind of started understanding them a little better. And now I speak at those the Orlando RIA or the Tampa RIA. Like I've spoken at these events before. And so and I've gone with him before recently. So it's kind of a full circle moment for me to see that kind of transpire.
Yeah, and for anybody that's listening, there are RIA events, real estate investment associations in every area. So if you want to get into real estate investing, those are really good events to go to because you learn all about the area and financing the deals and stuff like that. So you were specializing and actually in 2009, I was in the market too, crying probably at that time.
Take me thinking sight like he should have, right?
It was actually a really good market for real estate investing. I mean,
Best mark.
right. The best market, exactly. So a lot of pre-foreclosure, short sales and stuff like that. And that's what I was doing. So what is your favorite type of deal right now?
Creative financing. I love the creative financing deals. I do subject to deals all the time. My clients love those. I get a lot of people. I know there's not a lot of attorneys who understand this stuff and are comfortable with it because I started doing some sub twos like a year or two ago. And now like every couple days, somebody in Pace Morby's course hits me up and they're like, I got your name in this chat I'm in. are you the guy? Are you the plug for sub twos? And I'm like, yeah, I can help you with the sub two stuff. So seller financing, creative financing, obviously when interest rates spiked in 2022, people had to get creative. And so to lock in those 3 and 4% deals, you had to do subject to transactions or seller financing transactions. And so I like those deals because they're creative, they're outside the box, they're fun. And I like working with investors because they're easier to work with. They get it. You know, the someone closing on their first home as a young couple, that's okay, but that becomes a little bit too emotional sometimes. So I like the creative financing deals. Those are my favorite.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying this podcast, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Real Estate Secrets Unlocked, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode. And by the way, if you're a mortgage or real estate professional looking to level up your business, check out the Done by One CRM. It's at donebyone.ai. It packs tons of tools that will help you automate your business, automate your systems, your lead generation, your lead follow up, social media, email marketing, and it will allow you to close deals faster. If you are ready to take your career to the next level, join my team. We are looking for real estate agents, mortgage professionals, and real estate agents that want to be mortgage professionals. We're all about support, growth, and crushing it together. The links are in the description. Check them out now and let's grow together. So why don't you tell, and I love that you do that. That's an awesome niche because a lot of people don't know about that, right? So why don't you explain to everybody a little bit about what Subject to is?
So Danielle has a property she bought in 2021 with a 3% mortgage rate. I'm an investor. She's now underwater or break even. If she sells the property, she's going to lose 10% or 20% of the value. She doesn't want to do that. I want to buy the property, but I don't want to pay the current interest rate, which would be 7.5%, because I can't cash flow, but I can cash flow at 3%. So we come to an agreement and we say, look, I will buy the property from you subject to the mortgage that's on there. And that's what sub two means, or subject to. It means we leave it in place, we don't pay it off. And now what happens is I take over the property. I may pay Danielle something on the side, like $100, $1,000, whatever, a month, but I have to pay the mortgage, I have to pay the tax, I have to pay the insurance, and the title changes to my name. That's the traditional way of doing a subject to. There are a couple problems and why you need an attorney involved, because there's a lot of different legal ramifications that could happen. And both sides, I always like to say, this is one of the few transactions where both sides are still married after the deal. So you say, why do you say that, Bishoy? I can ruin Danielle's credit if I don't make the payment. Danielle can basically, I can lose my whole investment if she tells the lender what's going on and the loan comes called due. And so you really have to draft the documents in a way that's fair for both sides, but also contemplates what happens if either side doesn't perform like they're supposed to. And that's why these documents are so important in a subject to transactions. I've seen all kinds of things go wrong. The other big question I get is, well, does the lender know, or can the lender know? And that's the whole point here. They're not supposed to know, because a lot of times, well, every loan has a due on sale clause, right? People know that. And so a lot of times these lenders will call the loan due if they've lent at 3% and current rates are 7.5%. They are not going to want their money at 3. They want it lent at 7.5. So they will call it due. And so you say to me, well, is it illegal? Am I breaking the law? The answer is no. You're not breaking the law. It's not illegal. It's not criminal. You are breaking, and by you I mean Danielle, because I don't have an agreement with them, but Danielle's breaking her written agreement with the lender. And by doing that, all she's doing is allowing them to call the loan due, which is just a financial, she's breaking a financial covenant. So it's not like she could get in legal trouble. It's just them saying we can call it due. Now, how do we get around this? We create land trust, right? And I'm a specialist in land trust. I love creating land trust. I'm very good at it. And we found a way to basically keep it off the lender's radar. There's certain things we can do. There's certain things I won't do. I'm not encouraging anyone to lie to their lender, because you could get in big trouble for doing that. That's a crime. But what I am suggesting is, if we use land trust in order to move the property from one party to another, it's a lot less likely that the lender will ever find out or understand, because land trusts offer anonymity, which means privacy, which means no one knows who owns the property, and they also offer asset protection and estate planning, you can avoid probate. Those are ancillary benefits, but the primary benefit here is the lack of understanding who actually owns the property. And so, not to get too in the weeds, but that's generally how we structure them, and that's why the investors come to me to get these done.
And I love that because there's so many people out there doing subject to, like, there's so many wholesalers and investors, and a lot of them aren't using attorneys. They're finding that contract online, or ChatGPT, and then they're creating these deals. So I think it's definitely important to, have an attorney on your side because you're right. There's so many different legal things that can happen. So having that really spelt out between the two parties is important. So let's talk about finding those deals, right? And why would a potential homeowner want to do a subject to?
Yeah, a potential homeowner wants to do a sub two because they want to sell and they're underwater on a property. And what that means is they bought the property for $400,000 at the peak because the low interest rate market was the peak and we're down 20, 30%. You're in Southwest Florida. I'm in Southwest Florida. I'm in Tampa. So our, our pricing right now is 25, 30% off what it was 2 years ago and a year ago. So what that means, if you're wanting to sell your property, you're gonna have to come to closing with $100,000 cash. You're gonna have to literally, you're selling your property, you have to wire in 100,000, or even if it's not that drastic, it could be 50,000 or 30,000. But you don't want to do that. Why would you do that? Instead, I could come to you and say, I'll give you 5,000, or I'll give you 10,000, or I won't give you anything, but I'll take this $2,000 payment off your plate every month, or $2,500. And so the real benefit to it as a seller is it's getting you out of a tough situation. And that's really the name of the game. That's why people are motivated. Could be your primary. It could be these people who are, the avatars I see are of the sellers are people who have a secondary home or maybe an investment property that didn't pan out. Or they moved here during the peak from New York or California or Chicago or New Jersey or Pennsylvania. And now, because the cost of living has gotten so outrageous here, they want to move back out of Florida and go back to where they came from. And, the very interesting thing about it is I track the housing market very closely here. Um, our prices are down 20, 30%. That's what was happening to those blue states and those northerns, the cold states 3, 4 years ago. And now it's inversed, right? So now those properties in New York and California, I don't know about California, but New York, New Jersey, Chicago, those home values are up 20, 30%, and we're down. And so it's literally just inverse. And so that's because all those people are going back and there's a high demand. But those are the people that are selling, in some cases, subject to, so they don't have to come out of pocket to sell their property.
Well, and also a lot of times it's also to help fix their credit because if they, have to do a short sale, let's just say, or they're behind on their payments, right? Every time they don't make their mortgage payment, they're having all of those 30-day late. So
Yes. That's also a very big reason. 100%.
yeah, so they'll come in, they'll pay off, whatever's owed. We're seeing a lot of people, they changed the flood zone, map. So people that were not in a flood zone are now in a flood zone, and flood insurance is insane. So now their mortgage payment that was maybe $3,000 went up 1,000 a month, and they can't make the payments, nor are they able to sell. So subject to is awesome. What other trends are you seeing? Are you seeing a lot of pre-foreclosure? And then and then also, how are you finding the deals? Like, let's say a real estate agent or a real estate investor wants to get involved in short sales or subject to or whatever. What is your tech stack and how are you finding the deals?
The biggest trend I've seen in 2025, so I've been practicing law 13 years now. Um, and I have never seen so many. And granted, I started my practice as an attorney. What I like to say is pretty much my entire run as an attorney has been a bull run in the market, right? 2012 was when I graduated law school till now, and I'm in Florida. All but 2 years I've been in Florida. It's just been a crazy run. There's never been a downturn other than 2 months of COVID, right? Like 60 days of COVID, March, April 2020. Other than that, it's just been an insane bull run. And that's finally stopped. And it stopped a year or a year and a half ago, whatever you want to call it. So now for the first time in my legal career in 13 years, we're seeing a ton of distress. We're seeing a ton of late payments. We're seeing, I work with a lot of lenders. I represent a ton of lenders, and a lot of those are private lenders. And I'm foreclosing and I'm suing on personal guarantees. I've never sued on personal guarantees before because the properties always had equity. Now the properties don't have equity, right? Or they're leveraged to the hills.
Right.
And um, and that's the biggest trend I'm seeing in 2025. There are so many opportunities out there for people who have their eyes open. How do you attack those opportunities? It's all public record. I mean, it's all public record. I mean, you need to have somebody boots on the ground. You need to know what's going on. You need to know, um, and look, I mean, I'm in Tampa. This is specific to people in Tampa, but we had the hurricanes come in, and that destroyed the markets because it flooded. And I always use the word flooded. I'm not trying to be ironic here, but it flooded the market with inventory, and we already have a glut of inventory. And so the statistic that I always like to say is, during the peak of the housing market, we had 1 month of inventory on market, and now we have 9 months of inventory, and a healthy market's like 2 to 3. And so, I mean, we have like 9 or 10 times as much inventory as we had during the peak. And all that is to say it's a buyer's market. You can be super aggressive with your offers because guess what? You can make 10 offers at a crazy price. And here I'm going to tell you what's happening because I'm doing this right now and I have clients who are doing it. They're kinda getting laughed out of the room, or not laughed, but, like, they're like, sellers like, "Get the hell out of our face," right? And then 2, 3 months later, the sellers will come back and say, "Hey, we've done 3 price cuts. We're still, way above what you want, but would you entertain this?" But guess what that means? It means you as a buyer have all the leverage. You have all the leverage. Go on the MLS right now and look at how many, as a percentage, I don't know the number, but it seems like maybe 60 or 70% of the properties that are listed have had one price cut or more. And a lot of them have had several. I have one I've listed, bad timing, and I've cut the price 4 times. I've had a bunch of showings, not one offer. Not one offer, and it's priced, I mean, pre-COVID it would have been not pre-COVID, but a year ago it would have been 330, and now it's listed at 260 and I haven't gotten an offer. And there's comps to support that 330 number and I haven't gotten an offer. So
Oh,
yeah, so I mean, but I'm also buying, right? And so I'm trying to make up for it on what I'm losing on that. I'm trying to make up for it way more on the buy side. And that's just a circle of life, I guess. But go track the foreclosures, go track the Lis Pendens, go track, the probates are always good. I mean, it's the regular things, but the opportunities are there and people are scared. And I'm just telling everybody who will listen, because I post I'm on Instagram, I'm on social media at Attorney Bishoy, and I post stuff all the time. And I love telling people about what's going on as bad news, the doom and gloom. And it's not because I'm a doom and gloom guy. It's because, like, guys, it's ugly out there. It's going to get worse. And I always post statistics and stories. So then people message me back and they say, "Oh my God, like, we're gonna hold off on buying." I'm like, "No, you're missing the point. This is the time to buy."
that
You know,
is the
I
opportunity.
it's the opportunity. And I can't tell you we've hit the bottom of the market. No one can tell you that. But I can tell you as long as you can hold it for a couple of years, you're gonna be okay. And that's what you should be doing anyway. Not, wholesaling's tough. We did the wholesaling. We represented a bunch of wholesalers. It's died down because the market's so crazy. You can still do it. It's not a scalable business model, in my opinion. But if you're gonna hold something, buy it low, rent it out, renovate it, whatever, hold it for 2, 3 years. It's gonna go up 20, 30% in my opinion, if you're in the right market.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I definitely do think that prices are still coming down. It's really difficult to sell. I made a killing when I sold real estate with expired listings. That was my niche. Um, there's like 500 expired listings in the past 7 days in Southwest Florida, and I'm teaching a class, a certified expired listing specialist, and I'm telling everybody, like, go after those expired, especially the ones that have expired 3 times, because now they're ready to list it. You know, so the expired listings, I use PropStream for finding the deals because you can, if you're looking at subject to, go in and put someone that has a 3% interest rate, but also see that they're underwater and get out, skip trace them, get their name, phone, email, all that, and reach out to them, especially the Lis Pendens also. I mean, back in 2008, I had my little clipboard and I would go on leeclerk.org and pick an area, pull all the Lis Pendens, and literally door knock the Lis Pendens. And I went from like flat broke to 30 listings in a couple of months just by doing
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, That's a great tactic or a great technique, and I learned that from my basically this broker in Orlando, and he operated solo. And I mean, he was making seven figures a year, and I don't know if that was his exclusive way. I'm sure he got a lot of repeat business, but that was his thing. That was his niche. And he was making millions of dollars a year. This was 10 or 15 years ago as an agent in Orlando, just using that technique. 100% a great technique. And I've used it as an investor too. Because I don't care so much about the listing. I'm not trying to get listings, but it's the same thing as a buyer. It's like you've expired now. Now I can work with you and you're willing to listen. Like you said, that's the key.
Exactly. Exactly. So where do you think the market is going to go over the next couple of years?
Um, in Tampa Bay, in the Southwest Florida, West in Florida. I mean, look, there's conflicting things that I'm hearing about what's going on with the migration, right? And I kind of touched on that a minute ago because a lot of people are leaving, but a lot of people are still coming. We have population issues in Florida. People aren't giving birth. That's not a Florida issue. That's a macro issue. That's a USA issue and really a world issue in a lot of places. So, I mean, but I still think we just have so many competitive advantages. Like, we are still the best country in the world, and we are the best state in the country, in my opinion. There's other good states, but we are the best state in the country. And there's a reason I live here, right? I'm licensed in New York. I can move up there anytime. Um, and so businesses are still moving here. People still want to live here. There's still a lot of positive things here. The hurricanes scared people a little bit, but we're okay. And so I just am very bullish on where we're going. I just don't see any way that, I mean, there's all this talk and people and DeSantis, he ruffled some feathers and he pissed off the Canadians. And it's kind of funny to me. The Canadian tourism has dropped over the past 2 months, but will it continue to drop? I mean, we got Disney's the number one tourist destination in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? We have the Bright Line coming that's going to help every part of Florida. So to me, I'm so bullish on the state of Florida. Um, and I just think that you cannot go wrong if you own real estate here. I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, everything's getting gobbled up right now. Um, so I'm very bullish on it. I think that the worst, again, it's just my opinion. I think the worst is yet to come. I think maybe we're 6 months away from the trough or from the bottom. That's pure speculation. I don't know. There's so many things going on outside of our control. We thought we were headed for a recession. Then Trump made the tariff deal with China, and now all of a sudden everyone's kind of excited, and the markets are back to where they were before the year started. And there's a lot of different things. But here's the thing: people are people in this country are spending way more money than they have. People are in all-time high debt. People are behind on their car payments like never before. They're behind on their mortgage payments like maybe only one time in recent history. And the American consumer, we drive the world's economy, we drive our own economy, but that's to our detriment sometimes where we're spending too much. And I think there just is a reckoning, just like there has been since, the inflation. We had to come to grips with all the money we printed. I think the consumer is going to have to come to grips with all the money they've spent, and that's what's happening now. And what's happened in the real estate market is a correction. Um, but I think that we are just too fat and happy sometimes as a country and as a state, and that's just who we are as Americans. We just, it's extreme one way, it's extreme the other way. We don't know how to control ourselves sometimes. There's no financial discipline, and I think we're going to see a lot of people suffer because of that. Some people already are. Um, I don't think it's going to be '08. '08, we had a liquidity crisis. Today, we don't have a liquidity crisis. A ton of money on the sidelines waiting, especially on the commercial side. So, it's not as bad as '08. I think it's gonna be worse than people thought, but, we're gonna be okay. We're, like I said, best country in the world. We're doing fine. All things considered, we're very lucky. We're very blessed. Little rough patch, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's a correction because the housing affordability crisis is a really big issue in the country and especially here in Florida, especially in Tampa Bay where I am. So for houses to drop 30% is a good thing. It's not a bad thing like people think.
Well, and I want people to see the opportunity because back in I was in the market 05 to 07, owned a real estate and mortgage company, made a killing in my early 20s or mid 20s, and then the market crashed and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I just had two babies and then I found the opportunity in the pre-foreclosures and the expired listings, and I went after that. And so there's going to be a lot of agents that get out of the business and don't look for the opportunity, but the ones that do look for the opportunity, investors and real estate agents, they're going to survive and they're going to be just fine and super happy and can make a ton of money in this market. So I think that's the biggest thing. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. Is there any other like last minute things you want to let people know, and how can they find you? Because I definitely think, or, real estate attorney is needed for any of these types of deals.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, my little shtick is I'm a investor-friendly real estate attorney. I'm based here in Florida. I can work anywhere in the state. Um, and three things I pride myself on and how I distinguish myself from other attorneys. I'm responsive, so you'll actually be able to get a hold of me. I won't kill your deal as an attorney. You get a family law attorney involved. They don't know what's what, and they're going to mark everything up and they're going to kill the deal because they don't know what they're doing. That's not the case here, and we're trustworthy. We put your interest before our interest. And so those are the three pillars I built my law firm on. It's called Levacy Legal, Levacy Legal. We're based here in Tampa. Like I said, we operate throughout the state. Maybe opening Georgia offices soon because I'm getting my license there. And like I said, investor friendly. So real estate transactions, business transactions. We help clients buy and sell businesses. We do a lot of lender representation. We have a litigation team in case anybody's needs that, which a lot of people do need that. We're getting busier on the litigation side now. The best way to get a hold of me is you go on the website levacylegal.com, but I'm all over social media. So Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube at Attorney Bishoy, Attorney Bishoy, and you can get a hold of me and love to connect.
Awesome. Thank you. You brought so much great insight. And I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot about, different types of real estate deals. So I really appreciate you being on. Look him up. If you need a real estate attorney, he has your back. And then contracts and stuff like that, you have the contracts for them. And
Yeah, I can help with all that stuff. I do it all day. We did 40 deals last year. A lot of them were creative financing, novations, subject twos, all that stuff. So yeah, that's on the investment side. So as an attorney, I've done, hundreds of those.
love it. Thank you so much, Bishoy. It was great having you on. Well, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Real Estate Secrets Unlocked. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on your favorite platform, and we would love your feedback. Check us out on social and let me know what topics you want more of. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and our show. I'm your host, Danielle Damianov, and until next time, stay motivated, stay excited, and keep growing in this crazy world of real estate. Thanks for listening to Real Estate Secrets Unlocked.